Your past, she's my present, he said, his voice cold and unforgiving. I was everything to you, she whispered, tears blinding her vision. Not anymore, he snapped, and walked away. 3 years later, she returned, holding twins, on the day of my wedding. How can he face the truth, and will love ever forgive the betrayal? Hello, my dear friends. I'm your storyteller, James, and I welcome you to a story of love, heartbreak, and fate that will tug at every corner of your heart. Too often we start stories but leave before the journey is complete. But today, I promise every moment will grip your soul. Sit tight, because this story is full of secrets, tears, and choices that could change everything. Your past. She's my present, Adrian Stone said, his voice cold enough to shatter the last piece of hope in her chest. The words landed like a physical blow, sharp and relentless, echoing inside the dimly lit marble hallway of the Stone Empire mansion. Maya felt her breath stumble, her hands tremble, her world collapse in a single second. The man she had once believed would fight the world for her, the man she had married in a quiet ceremony with trembling hands and overflowing dreams, now looked at her as if she was nothing more than an inconvenient memory, a mistake he wanted erased. His blue eyes, once soft when they looked at her, were now glass. Beautiful, empty, cruel. Adrian, don't do this, Maya whispered, trying to steady her voice. It cracked anyway, and the sound of it hurt more than his words. Behind him stood Evelyn Hartwell, the stunning porcelain-faced daughter of the powerful Hartwell conglomerate. She wore elegance like a weapon, her lips curved in a victorious, poisonous smile. Your presence complicates things, Maya, she said softly. Adrian has obligations, responsibilities. You should understand your place. Maya blinked hard. My place. I'm his wife. Evelyn laughed quietly. Adrian didn't. His silence destroyed her more than any cruelty could. Sign the annulment papers, Adrian said flatly. This marriage was impulsive, reckless. It jeopardized everything my family built. Maya's throat tightened. We promised. Those promises were made before reality got in the way, Adrian cut in. Before I understood what my legacy truly demands. Legacy, duty, family obligation. Those words had hovered over their marriage like storm clouds, but she had believed love would win. She had believed he would win. She had been wrong. Adrian, she said again, softer now, a fragile bird of hope breaking its wings. Look at me, really look at me. Tell me you feel nothing. He hesitated, just for a second. In that single breath she saw a flicker, pain, longing, guilt, something real, but it vanished the moment Evelyn stepped closer to him. Maya, Adrian said, forcing each word. We can't be together. Not anymore. My family has already arranged the engagement announcement for next week. The words hit harder than any slap. Engagement? Next week. Her marriage died before it ever had a chance to live. Maya felt something inside her tear open, devastating, hollow, endless. She forced herself to straighten, to lift her chin even as her heart cracked in two. If you walk away now, she whispered, you'll regret it. Adrian's jaw tightened. I already regret the chaos you brought into my life. The cruelty wasn't his. She knew it deep down. It was pressure, manipulation. His mother's voice ringing in his ear, his father's expectations weighing on his shoulders. The empire, the name. It didn't matter, he was still choosing them. A guard stepped forward to escort her out, but she raised a hand. Don't touch me, she said, her voice trembling but sharp. She turned one last time to Adrian. I hope your legacy holds you at night better than I ever could. She walked out with broken dignity, silent tears burning down her cheeks. The massive doors slammed behind her. It rained that night, a relentless, cold rain that washed the streets of New York but couldn't wash away the ache in her chest. Maya stumbled into her tiny apartment, soaked and shivering, the echoes of his words chasing her like shadows. "Your past. That's all I was to him," she whispered, wiping her face with the back of her hand. "A mistake. A memory he wants to forget." Her phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. "Leave quietly. Do not contact Adrian again. For your silence, compensation is available." Her stomach twisted. She knew who sent it, Adrian's mother. The woman who had never accepted her brown skin, her humble background, her quiet strength. The woman who believed money could erase anything. Maya threw the phone onto the couch and cried until her body ached. Hours later, when the tears finally stopped, she grabbed the annulment papers Adrian's lawyer had sent earlier and stared at them. Her hand trembled as she reached for a pen. "This is what he wants," she whispered. "This is my goodbye." She signed. Her vision blurred as she placed the pen down. Her life with him, every dream, every promise, every stolen midnight kiss, dissolved into ink on paper. But as she stood to take the papers to the mailbox, a sharp wave of dizziness crashed into her. Her knees buckled. She clutched the side of the table, breathless. Another wave hit, stronger, deeper, like her body was trying to warn her of something impossible. "No, no, please," she whispered, pressing a hand to her stomach. Her heart pounded as she rushed toward the bathroom. Her hands shook violently as she reached into the cabinet, pulling out the single pregnancy test she had shoved to the back weeks ago, telling herself it was nothing. She sat on the cold floor, staring at the small plastic stick as if it held her soul. Seconds passed, endless, suffocating. Then the result appeared. Positive. The world tilted around her. A shattering gasp burst from her chest. "No! No! Adrian!" Tears flooded her eyes, not soft tears, but a storm of betrayal, love, fear, and heartbreak smashing into each other, pregnant, with his children. In that moment, the truth became a painful, devastating truth. He had left her for his so-called duty, but that duty now lived inside her. Maya pressed a trembling hand to her abdomen. Emotion surged through her. Terror, love, disbelief. "I'm not losing you," she whispered through tears. "Not after everything. I won't let them take you too." She staggered to her feet, gripping the edge of the sink, her reflection a portrait of shattering strength. She didn't know how she would survive, how she would raise a child alone, how she would hide from the Stone family's claws. But she knew one thing with absolute, bone-deep certainty. She could never, ever let Adrian find out. Not now. Not while he belonged to someone else, not while the world he chose was built on tearing her apart. And then, as lightning flashed outside, she gasped again, because a second faint line appeared on the other test she had taken. 2 lines, 2 heartbeats, twins. Her legs gave out and she slid to the floor, her hands shaking over her stomach as a sob ripped from her throat. And before she could gather her breathing, a sudden, violent knock echoed through the apartment door. Someone was outside, waiting, demanding, coming for her. The pounding on the door grew louder, sharp, urgent, relentless. Maya's breath hitched as she wiped her tears with trembling fingers. Her entire body shook, her mind still reeling from the revelation of the twins growing inside her. 2 heartbeats, 2 fragile lives depending on her. The knocking continued. "Maya Carter, open this door immediately." Her blood turned to ice. She recognized that voice. Mrs. Eleanor Stone, Adrian's mother. Her heart thundered against her ribs, each beat slicing with fear. How did she find her? Why now? Why tonight, of all nights, the night she discovered she was pregnant? A heavy silence followed. Maya pressed her back to the wall, praying Eleanor would leave, but the woman's cold voice seeped through the cracks of the old apartment door. "You cannot hide behind this cheap wood forever. Open this door or I will let myself in. This situation will be dealt with tonight. Maya pressed a hand over her stomach protectively. My babies. She cannot know. Gathering the last shards of strength left inside her bruised heart, Maya forced herself to stand. The rain outside hammered against the windows, mirroring the chaos inside her chest. She dragged in a breath, counted to 3, and unlocked the door, but opened it only an inch. Mrs. Stone pushed it wider without permission. She swept inside like winter, cold, sharp, cruelly elegant. Her tailored coat dripped rainwater onto Maya's worn carpet. Her expression was carved from marble. So, Mrs. Stone said, looking around with thinly veiled disgust, this is where you have been hiding. Pathetic. Maya kept her voice steady. Why are you here? Why? Eleanor lifted a brow. Because you are an obstacle, and obstacles must be removed before Adrian's engagement is announced. I already signed the annulment papers, Maya whispered. What more do you want? Eleanor's eyes glinted. Finality. She pulled a white envelope from her purse and tossed it onto the table. Money, thick, heavy, tightly sealed. This, Mrs. Stone said coldly, is compensation for your silence and disappearance. You will sign another document agreeing never to contact Adrian again. You will leave New York by morning. Maya stared at the envelope as if it were poison. What if I say no? Eleanor stepped closer, her voice dropping into something darker. Then, Maya, we will make you irrelevant by force. I have the influence to destroy your career, your reputation, your life. Do not make this difficult. Maya's throat closed. Fear twisted through her. Her hand instinctively drifted toward her belly. Eleanor's sharp eyes followed the movement. What is that? She demanded. Maya quickly folded her arms. Nothing. I don't owe you explanations. Eleanor's lips curled. You owe me obedience. Adrian's future depends on it. Adrian. His name alone sent a sharp ache through her chest. Even now, even shattered, she pictured his blue eyes softening, just for a moment, when he used to hold her. But that man no longer existed. I am leaving, Maya said, voice breaking but firm. But not because of your threats, because staying will destroy me. Good, Eleanor snapped. Then sign. She slid another paper across the table. A contract, cold, legally binding, suffocating. Maya stared at the lines, the clauses, the signature space. Each sentence felt like a chain tightening around her neck. It was more than a separation. It was erasure. This says I must never contact Adrian, Maya whispered, and that I must disappear, permanently. Correct. And that if I speak, you can take legal action against me. Yes. Maya swallowed hard. A wave of nausea crashed through her. Her body was not only reacting to fear, her pregnancy amplified every emotion, every tremble, every ache. Eleanor watched her with impatient calculation. You look pale, almost sick, she said with a suspicious tilt of her head. Are you unwell? Maya forced a breath. It's just stress. Then sign and be done with it. Maya looked down at the contract again. Her reflection shimmered faintly on the glossy table, eyes red and broken. My children. If she signed, the twins would be born into secrecy, hidden shadows of a forbidden love. They would grow up without a father, without a name, without truth. But if she refused, Eleanor Stone would tear her life apart piece by piece. The impossible choice crushed her. Her heart wanted to run back to Adrian, to tell him everything, to beg him to remember the man he used to be. But her mind, her instincts knew the truth. Adrian was no longer free. Adrian was no longer hers. Adrian was now a man who said, "You're past," and she would not let her babies be born on their knees in front of the Stone family. With trembling fingers, Maya reached for the pen. Fine, she whispered. I'll sign. But Eleanor grabbed her wrist forcefully. Before you do, one question. Her eyes narrowed, sharp as a knife. Are you pregnant? The air left Maya's lungs. Her heart froze. No, she whispered immediately, forcing calm into her voice. I am not. Eleanor studied her face for a long, terrifying moment. Finally, she released her wrist. Good. Adrian deserves a clean start. Clean start. As if Maya had been dirt. Maya signed her name with slow, devastating strokes. Each movement hurt. Each letter carved another scar inside her. When she set the pen down, her vision blurred. Eleanor snatched the papers, satisfied. Leave by morning, she said coldly. If you know what's good for you. She turned and walked out, but paused at the door. And, Maya, forget you ever existed in Adrian's life. He already has. The door slammed. The silence that followed was suffocating. Maya collapsed into a chair, hands flying to her mouth as sobs tore through her. Her body shook in waves, painful, uncontrollable. Her babies fluttered inside her like tiny whispers of hope. I'm so sorry, she cried into her palms. I'm so sorry you have to start life like this. But through the pain, something else ignited, a spark, a fierce, protective flame. She would leave. She would disappear. She would raise them far from the Stone family's claws. No money, no contract, no threats would ever make her abandon her babies. She packed through the night, her memories, her clothes, her shattered heart. As dawn bled into the sky, she stood at the window, a small suitcase in hand, her future uncertain, terrifying, fragile. Then her phone buzzed. A new message, this time from Adrian. Where are you? We need to talk. Maya's heart stopped. Maya stared at her phone, her breath trembling as Adrian's message glowed accusingly on the cracked screen. Where are you? We need to talk. Her throat closed. Her suitcase sat open on the bed, half-packed, her entire life folded into two fragile piles. Dawn painted the room in soft orange, but nothing felt warm. Nothing felt safe. Why was he texting her? How did he even think he still had the right? Her pulse raced painfully fast, pumping fear and heartbreak through her veins. For one impossible second, part of her wanted to respond, wanted to believe that maybe he remembered, maybe he regretted, maybe he wanted to undo the destruction he caused. But reality crashed in. He didn't know she was pregnant. He didn't know about the twins. He didn't know Eleanor had forced her out with threats wrapped in money. He didn't know anything. Her fingers hovered over the screen. Should she answer? Was this a trap? Or was he reaching out because some small part of him still cared? No, she whispered, forcing her hand to lower. Don't be weak now. Not when everything is at stake. She turned off the phone, stuffed it deep into her bag, and zipped the suitcase shut. A lump rose in her throat, thick and painful. She looked around the tiny apartment, her refuge, her battlefield, her ending. This place had held her tears during sleepless nights. It had held her dreams before they were broken. It had held the moment she discovered the twins existed. It had held her last piece of hope. Goodbye, she whispered to the empty room. Goodbye to everything. She pulled on her coat and lifted the suitcase, but a sudden, violent knock shook the door. Her breath froze. Not again. Please, not her. Maya edged closer, heart pounding, and listened. Maya, I know you're in there. Open the door. The voice wasn't Eleanor's. It was deeper, male, familiar. Adrian. Her fingers curled into fists. She stepped back instinctively, pressing herself against the kitchen counter. Why was he here? How did he find her address? Could he sense something? Could he feel the truth in ways he didn't understand? She took slow breaths, each one sharper than the last. Please, Adrian said from the other side, his voice lowering, softening. I just need to talk to you. The sound of sincerity almost shattered her. Almost. She closed her eyes painfully. He sounded like the Adrian she had married, the Adrian who used to kiss her forehead when she cried, the Adrian who used to promise they would conquer the world together. But that man had chosen his legacy over her. He had chosen Evelyn. He had chosen a life where she didn't exist. Maya, Adrian murmured again. Please. Her chest tightened with a devastating ache. She couldn't open the door. Not now. Not when he might see something in her face and discover the truth. She grabbed her suitcase and tiptoed toward the fire escape window. I know you're angry, he continued. I know I hurt you, but I didn't want it to end like this. Not with silence. Her hands trembled so violently she almost dropped the suitcase. Silence? He had thrown her out. He had replaced her. He was engaged to another woman. Maya forced the window open slowly, quietly, the morning air cold as grief. She stepped out onto the metal landing, her breath fogging. But just as she prepared to descend, the door behind her burst open. Maya! She froze. Adrian had pushed his way inside, his sharp blue eyes locked on the open window, on her. For a moment, time stopped. Maya! What are you doing? He asked breathlessly, stepping closer. His hair was wet from the rain, his shirt wrinkled as if he'd rushed out without thinking. His voice cracked, just slightly. She gripped the railing. Leave, Adrian, please. Not until you talk to me. There's nothing left to say. Yes, there is. His voice lowered. I made a mistake. The words stabbed her. A mistake. A mistake she was carrying inside her. 2 tiny lives, 2 pieces of him. Her throat burned. Adrian, it's too late. I don't believe that. You should. He took another step toward her. Panic surged. She descended the metal stairs quickly, nearly stumbling. Adrian darted toward the window. Maya, wait. She didn't look back. She ran. Maya reached the street and hurried toward the bus station. Clutching the suitcase handle so tightly, her knuckles whitened. Her stomach cramped from stress, sharp, twisting pains that made her pause every few steps. She couldn't lose control now. She had to leave the city today. She had to protect the twins. The bus station was only 3 blocks away. 3 blocks to freedom. 3 blocks to safety. 3 blocks to disappearing forever. But when she turned the corner, a black luxury car pulled up beside her. Her heart plunged. The window lowered. Eleanor Stone sat inside, perfectly composed, eyes colder than frost. You're persistent. I'll give you that. Maya stepped back. What do you want now? To ensure you don't do anything foolish, Eleanor replied, like speaking to my son. You don't own him, Maya snapped. Eleanor smirked. He belongs to the Stone legacy. That is far greater than you understand. The passenger door opened. Get in, Eleanor said. You're coming with me. No, Maya breathed, shaking her head. Stay away from me. Eleanor's expression hardened. You signed a contract. You agreed to disappear. And yet, here you are, running around the city, making a scene, dragging Adrian into your chaos again. Maya froze. She hadn't told Adrian anything. She had tried to escape. She had respected the contract even if it destroyed her. What are you afraid of, Mrs. Stone? Maya asked shakily. Why are you so desperate to erase me? What are you afraid Adrian will learn? Eleanor's smile faded. Get in. Now. No. Eleanor nodded at the driver. Suddenly the driver stepped out and reached for Maya's arm. She gasped and stumbled backward. Stop. Don't touch me. But her heel caught on the pavement. She fell hard, pain shooting through her hip and stomach. Her hands flew to her abdomen instinctively. Maya, Eleanor snapped, you're being ridiculous. Don't touch me, she cried again, scrambling to her feet. The driver lunged again, but someone else grabbed Maya first. A firm, familiar hand wrapped around her wrist and pulled her behind a broad chest, shielding her. Adrian. His voice thundered through the air. "What the hell do you think you're doing to her?" Eleanor's eyes widened. "Adrian, step away from her." His voice was steel, rage, protectiveness. Maya's breath shook. This wasn't the weak, pressured man from before. This was a man whose control had snapped. But she couldn't let him protect her. Not when the truth lived inside her. Not when she had signed a contract that demanded her disappearance. Adrian turned to her, breathing hard. "Maya, tell me the truth. What is going on? Why are you leaving? Why did my mother come after you?" Maya felt the world tilt around her. Her heart pounded violently. Her throat tightened painfully. She had to lie. She had to protect the twins. She had to obey the contract. But her tears betrayed her. "Maya," Adrian whispered, taking her shaking hands in his. "What are you hiding from me?" She opened her mouth. But before she could speak, Eleanor's icy voice sliced between them. "She's hiding something, Adrian. Something dangerous." Maya's heart stopped. Eleanor stepped forward, eyes blazing with murderous certainty. "Tell him, Maya. Tell my son why you're really running. Tell him you're pregnant." Maya's breath died in her chest. Adrian's world shattered in one heartbeat. The grand hall was glittering, chandeliers sparkling like frozen stars, but Maya's mind was elsewhere, tangled in fear, determination, and the fragile hope she had carried for 3 years. The moment she stepped inside the Stone family estate, she felt every eye prick at her back, every whisper cutting like a knife, but she ignored them. Her hands trembled slightly around the twins' fingers, Ishan and Meher, her tiny heartbeat anchors against the storm, raging in her chest. Ethan Stone, the man who had once vowed to protect her heart as if it were sacred, was standing at the altar with Caroline, his fiancée, radiant and composed, yet impossibly distant. He hadn't noticed her yet. The twins, too young to fully comprehend the tension, glanced around curiously, holding on to Maya's hands as if they were the only certainty in the world. For a moment, Maya's heart wrenched painfully. She remembered the night she had found out she was carrying his children, 2 fragile lives she had promised to protect from the Stone legacy at all costs. Now, 3 years later, she was finally standing here, risking everything, because these children deserved a father, deserved the truth. And perhaps she needed to see his face. "Ethan," she whispered softly, as if the sound of his name might anchor her. He turned. Time stopped. His blue eyes, sharp and striking as ever, widened in disbelief. The wedding lights reflected off them, but they didn't dazzle. They only mirrored shock, confusion, and a touch of something long buried. Regret. "What?" His voice faltered, almost cracking. "What is this?" Maya straightened, her resolve hardening. "These are your children, Aishan and Meher." The twins blinked up at him, shy, holding her hands. Ethan's jaw dropped, and for the first time, his elegant, untouchable composure cracked. He took a hesitant step forward. They look like me," he whispered, voice hoarse. He reached out slowly, almost trembling. "These are mine." "Yes," Maya said softly. "For 3 years you didn't know. I tried to tell you. I tried to reach you, but you chose your duty, your family, your life without me." Ethan's fingers brushed lightly against Ishan's tiny hand. The sensation was electric, almost unbearable. Memories flashed, their wedding, their whispered promises, her trembling smiles, her soft laughter when he held her close. He turned to Maya, his voice low, raw. "Why didn't you fight harder? Why didn't you come back?" Maya's chest tightened painfully. "I did fight, but your world, your family, wouldn't let me. I had no choice." "Eleanor," he spat the name like venom. "I should have known. I should have seen through it." But the moment was interrupted. The crowd inside the hall had noticed them, the bride, the groom, and the unexpected guests at the entrance. A ripple of whispers surged through the grand estate, curious, judgmental, and ruthless. Caroline stepped forward, her face pale but furious. "Ethan, what is this? Explain yourself." Ethan ignored her for a heartbeat, holding the twins closer. But Caroline's fury was not something that could be brushed aside. Maya's voice cut through, firm and unwavering. "They are your children. I came to tell you the truth. Nothing else. We are not here to disrupt your wedding, Caroline, but you need to know who they are." Caroline's eyes narrowed, a dangerous gleam igniting. You've lied to him? All this time?" "No," Maya cried, voice trembling, yet loud enough for the hall to hear. "I have hidden nothing except protecting the twins from your schemes. 3 years, 3 years of silence was to save him from your manipulation." Caroline's lips curled into a cruel smile. "Save him? Or save yourself?" Ethan's blue eyes shifted between them, the storm of anger, confusion, regret, and disbelief swirling inside him. His hands shook slightly as he held Ishan, and Maya instinctively placed her hand over his to steady it. "This isn't about saving me," Ethan finally said, his voice raw. This is about 3 years stolen from my life, from my children." Caroline laughed, soft, sharp, and poisonous. "Your life? Your life was never about her or the children. You've made your choices, Ethan. You chose me." Maya felt her chest constrict. The twins, sensing the tension, clung closer to her. She swallowed, fighting the pain clawing at her chest. Then Caroline's tone shifted, dangerous, calculated, and venomous. "But what if I told everyone here that you, Maya, are not only manipulative but also hiding more than just the children?" Maya froze. "What? What are you talking about?" Caroline smiled cruelly, holding her hands up like a queen surveying her kingdom. "I have proof. Proof that Maya was pregnant before the annulment. Proof that she has been scheming behind your back. Everyone in this hall will know that she tried to ruin this wedding, Ethan. They will see her as a liar, a fraud." Ethan's hands tightened on the twins, his knuckles white. "Caroline, no, you wouldn't." "Oh, but I would," she said, her voice cold as ice. "And I will if you choose to protect her, because the world doesn't forgive Ethan, and the Stone family never forgets betrayal." A sudden hush fell across the room. The chandelier's light seemed to flicker as if the estate itself held its breath. The guests began murmuring, sensing the tension that could erupt into scandal at any second. Maya's stomach dropped. Every step she had taken to protect her children, every silent plan to disappear, every tear shed in secret, now threatened to explode into public ruin. Ethan looked down at her, his voice barely a whisper, hoarse with anguish. "Maya, tell me the truth. Is she lying?" Maya's heart pounded. She could protect the twins, or let this storm engulf them. One word could change everything. One word could destroy the fragile world she had tried to build for them. Before she could answer, Caroline's sharp gaze locked onto the twins. "And what about them? Are they part of your game too? Are you using them to manipulate my fiancé?" Ethan inhaled sharply. His chest heaved. The silence stretched, heavy and suffocating. Then Caroline's next words cut through the tension like a knife. "I will not let you ruin this wedding. Not today. Not ever. And if you think you can take my fiancé and my life with your lies, Maya, you are gravely mistaken. I will fight you. I will destroy you." Maya's body trembled, but her gaze hardened. She held the twins tighter, feeling their fragile hearts against hers. Ethan stepped closer, protective, torn, and trembling. You can't do this, Caroline." Caroline smirked, raising her hand with something glinting in it. A phone. "I already have." The guests gasped as the first images flashed across the big screen in the hall, a shocking revelation designed to humiliate, to destroy, to shatter Maya's fragile control over the moment. Maya's eyes widened. Her stomach dropped. The twins clung to her tightly. The Stone family, the guests, everyone watching. And the countdown to chaos had begun. Ethan Stone sat in his corner office, the city lights of New York flickering like distant stars through the massive glass windows. His tailored suit clung perfectly to his frame, expensive and precise, yet he felt hollow inside. The office gleamed with wealth, mahogany panels, gold inlays, designer furniture, and the faint scent of his favorite cologne lingering in the air. Every detail screamed success, power, control, but in the deep recesses of his chest, he felt nothing but emptiness. He should have been celebrating. He should have been excited for his engagement to Caroline Hartwell, the perfect partner for his life, his status, his legacy. Yet instead he couldn't stop seeing Maya's face, the brown-skinned woman who had been everything to him, everything he had abandoned. The memory clawed at him relentlessly. 3 years. 3 years of absence, of decisions made under pressure, obligations fulfilled while love slipped through his fingers. And now, the children, the twins, his blood, his mistakes made manifest. He pushed back from the desk and ran his hand through his black, slightly disheveled hair. The blue in his eyes, so often commanding and cold, now mirrored regret and torment. He had thought that ambition would fill the void he left behind, but it had only deepened it. The empire was thriving, the family was pleased. But at night, when the champagne glasses were empty and the boardroom lights dimmed, he felt like a hollow shell. A sharp ping from his phone shattered the silence. Unknown. Number. I know where she is. Ethan's breath hitched. The message was short, cryptic, terrifying. Who? He muttered under his breath, heart hammering. He scrolled further. Another message arrived almost immediately. Come alone. Tomorrow, 8 p.m., Pier 47. His chest tightened. It couldn't be real. It had to be a trap, something designed by Caroline, Eleanor, or both. His mind raced, but one undeniable truth glimmered beneath the fear. It was Maya. She had to be. His hand shook as he gripped the phone. Every instinct in him screamed against it, warning him of consequences. But another part, the part that had been silent and buried under years of duty, howled with a desperate need to see her, to make sure she and the children were safe, to see maybe for the last time what he had lost. The city outside glimmered, indifferent to the turmoil inside the man who had everything but love. Money, power, reputation, all meaningless if he couldn't touch the heart that had belonged to him and now carried his children. Ethan didn't sleep that night. He didn't eat. He barely moved from the leather chair in his office, staring at the skyline, imagining Maya's face, imagining the twins' tiny fingers curled around her hand. Every scenario haunted him. What if she had been hurt? What if Caroline found her first? What if it was too late to make things right? By dawn, he was a man possessed. He called off meetings, ignored calls. The empire would survive a day without him. Maya could not. At precisely 8 p.m., he arrived at Pier 47. The docks were empty except for the faint glow of a single street lamp reflecting on the black water. The wind bit cold, whipping through his coat, reminding him that he had never felt this alive or this terrified in years. Maya, he called softly, stepping forward. His voice echoed, swallowed by the stillness. A figure emerged from the shadows. Maya. Her brown skin glimmered faintly under the lamplight, her hair damp from the evening mist, her eyes wide and fierce, yet wary. Behind her, the twins clutched her fingers, curious but silent. Ethan froze. She was real. They were real. His children, alive and perfect. Maya, his voice cracked. I didn't know. I never knew. You should have, Maya said quietly, her voice a fragile sword. You left before you could. You chose them over me, over us. Ethan's jaw tightened. His pride, his shame, and his regret warred violently inside him. "I was weak," he admitted, barely above a whisper. I let them pressure me. I let my family and duty dictate my life while I ignored my heart. I failed you." Maya's eyes shimmered. The corners of her lips twitched, but she didn't forgive him. Not yet. Not easily. She had survived, protected their children, carried his blood for 3 long years while he sat in a gilded cage. Ethan crouched slightly, almost instinctively, to meet the twins' gaze. "Eshin, Meher," his voice was trembling. I am your father." The twins blinked, their innocence holding them steady, yet a spark of recognition, of belonging, flickered in their eyes. Maya's heart squeezed painfully. "You don't know the world you're walking into," she said softly. "My entire life has been shadows, hiding, surviving. The Stone family, they will not forgive me. They will not forgive us." Ethan's hands clenched. The old fury, the old defiance he had buried under wealth and duty surged back. "Then we face them. Together. You and the children and me. I don't care about Caroline, Eleanor, or anyone else. I won't let them touch you again." Maya's eyes widened at his words, but the warmth she hoped to feel clashed violently with fear. She had a plan, a secret plan. If she revealed everything, she could put them all in danger. If she trusted him fully now, it could ruin everything she had fought for. A sudden crackling of movement behind her made them both spin. A figure had stepped out of the shadows, someone watching, waiting. "Maya, Ethan." The voice was sharp, metallic with authority. Ethan's eyes narrowed. "Who's there?" From the darkness, a single flashlight illuminated a face Maya had hoped never to see again. Eleanor Stone. Her eyes blazed with icy fury, lips twisted in contempt. Behind her, 2 of her most loyal guards emerged, flanking her like wolves ready to pounce. Eleanor's gaze settled on Ethan. "So," she said, voice low, venomous, "this is where you hid them. Clever, but not clever enough." Ethan stepped in front of Maya, his hands on the twins' shoulders protectively. "What do you want, Eleanor?" Her lips curled. "Everything. Your obedience, your children, and your woman. I won't allow this. Not now. Not ever. You think you can just waltz in and reclaim what was never yours to take?" Ethan's pulse raced. The emptiness he had felt in his mansion, surrounded by gold and glass, paled compared to the terror of this moment. He realized with sudden clarity that survival and love were now inseparable. One wrong move and Maya and the children would vanish from his life forever. He looked at Maya. Her face was pale but resolute, her eyes reflecting the same defiance he had once loved. And then Eleanor smiled, a predator's smile. "I gave you 3 years," she hissed, 3 years to forget your mistakes. But now," she stepped forward, her guards close behind, "now you will pay the price for your weakness." The wind from the pier whipped violently, and Ethan felt the weight of the entire world pressing down on him. For the first time, wealth, power, and reputation meant nothing. Love, protecting his children, protecting Maya, was the only thing that mattered. But as Eleanor advanced, moving like ice across the wet pier, Ethan knew one thing with absolute certainty. This battle would not be simple. And nothing could prepare him for the storm she had brought with her. The pier was drenched in mist, and the faint glow of lanterns reflected off the black water. Yet the night air felt heavier than any storm Ethan had ever endured. Eleanor Stone stepped forward, her boots clicking sharply against the wet wood, flanked by 2 burly guards whose presence screamed authority and danger. Maya instinctively pulled the twins closer, their small bodies trembling against her side. "You brought him here," Eleanor said, her gaze icy, sharp enough to cut glass. And yet, you have no idea what you've unleashed. Ethan's jaw tightened. This ends tonight, Eleanor. Step aside. She laughed, a hollow, cruel sound that echoed across the pier. Step aside? Oh, Ethan, you are still a child masquerading as a man of power. You think you can protect them? Protect her? Maya's stomach clenched. The twins clutched her hands, sensing the storm that had erupted. She wanted to disappear into the night, to melt into shadows and keep them safe. But Eleanor's eyes followed her every movement. Do you see them? Eleanor gestured toward Ishane and Meher. Do you see the consequences of your weakness, Ethan? You abandoned them. You abandoned her, and now they are your responsibility. Ethan's hands clenched around the twins. I never abandoned them. I never abandoned her. I was forced by your lies, by your manipulation. And I will fix it, Eleanor. I swear it. Eleanor's face twisted into a venomous smile. Fix it? Do you even understand what fixing it means? They are mine. They belong to the Stone legacy. You cannot claim them without consequence. Maya swallowed, her throat tight. You won't touch them, she said, voice firmer than she felt. I'll do whatever it takes to keep them safe. You will not take them from me. Eleanor's eyes narrowed. Do you really think that threats mean anything to me? You signed a contract, didn't you? A promise to disappear. Yet here you are, flaunting your disobedience. I should call the authorities, expose you for trespassing, for disrupting the wedding. The twins whimpered, sensing the danger. Maya bent to their level, her arms wrapping protectively around them. It's okay, she whispered, heart hammering. I'm right here. You're safe. But Eleanor's smile did not waver. Instead, it widened. Safe? You call this safe? Every step you've taken has been a violation, a trespass against the Stone family. You dared to claim these children, and now you will pay the price. Ethan's voice shook, low and dangerous. You will not hurt them, Eleanor. You will not— A sudden movement from the shadows interrupted him. One of Eleanor's guards stepped forward, a handheld device glinting in his hand. Do you really want to test her, Mr. Stone? He asked, voice flat, deadly. Maya's heart froze. The device looked ominous, like a taser, or worse. She instinctively stepped in front of the twins, ready to protect them with every ounce of her strength. Enough, Eleanor said, her tone cutting through the tension like a knife. You've had your chance to stay hidden. Now I want names. I want to know where you've been hiding them, Maya. Where are they living? Who else knows? Maya's pulse raced. She had anticipated many scenarios, many threats, but she had never imagined that Eleanor would corner her like this, demanding the twins' whereabouts, ready to destroy her if she refused. She began, then faltered. Her mind raced for solutions. She could not reveal the truth. Not yet. Not until she knew she could protect them. You will speak, Eleanor hissed, or I will make you wish you had never been born. The words struck Maya like a physical blow. She felt as if the air had been sucked from her lungs. She looked at Ethan, desperate for support, for a plan, for a miracle. Ethan's jaw tightened, eyes blazing. You will not touch them, he growled. I don't care what contract or law or legacy you wield. You step closer and you'll answer to me. Eleanor tilted her head, amused by his defiance. You speak of protection, yet you sit on your throne of wealth and let the world dictate your morality. You think you are different because you married into power? I know your weaknesses, Ethan Stone, and you will fail if you don't act. Maya's fingers tightened around the twins. She could feel their small hearts beating frantically against her own. Fear, adrenaline, and fierce love fused into one burning determination. You are not taking them, she said again, more firmly. They are mine. They are ours. And I will fight to the last breath to keep them safe. Eleanor's expression darkened. She took a deliberate step forward, and the guard raised the device again. You are bluffing. You have no allies here, Maya. You are alone, and I— A sudden flash of light illuminated the pier, blinding everyone for a moment. What the— one guard exclaimed. Ethan's head snapped toward the source. From the shadows, a figure stepped forward, another presence, unexpected. A tall man, unfamiliar, holding a camera and speaking into a phone. Eleanor's eyes widened, her composure cracking slightly. Who is that? Maya's stomach dropped. No, it can't be. The man's voice rang out, clear and amplified. Hello, Miss Stone, Mr. Stone, everyone watching. Meet the twins. Before anyone could react, images flashed across the screens of nearby boats and monitors. A live broadcast, streaming the twins, Maya, and the confrontation. Their names, Ishane and Meher, displayed on the screens, along with clear evidence of their parentage. Gasps erupted from the guards, from the few late-night fishermen on the pier, and even from Eleanor herself. Eleanor's face twisted with rage. How dare you? Ethan's heart thudded violently. He looked at Maya, who stood frozen, a mixture of relief and terror in her eyes. The world had changed in an instant. The secret she had protected for 3 years, the twins, was now exposed to anyone who had access to the broadcast. You, Eleanor screamed at Ethan, this is your doing. You let this happen. You— Ethan's voice was low, steady, and final. No, Eleanor. This is my choice, my children, my family, and you will never threaten them again. Maya held her breath, the twins clinging to her sides, their small bodies trembling. She knew the battle had just begun and that Eleanor would not surrender easily. But for the first time she saw the fire in Ethan's eyes, the same fire that had once made her heart soar. Yet before they could move, one of Eleanor's guards lunged forward, and the device in his hand crackled with dangerous energy, aimed directly at Maya. Ethan reacted instantly, stepping in front of her, but the guard was faster. The twins screamed, and in that split second Eleanor's voice rang out like a death knell. Consider this a warning. Cross me again, and none of you will survive the night. Maya felt her knees weaken. Ethan's hand was firm on her shoulder, steadying her, but the danger was real, immediate, and inescapable. And just like that, everything she had fought for, their hidden life, the quiet years of survival, was unraveling before her eyes. The warehouse smelled of damp concrete and rust, a cold, hollow echo resonating off the steel beams. Maya's grip on the twins tightened, their small hands entwined with hers as they huddled close. She had led them here, to the one place she thought she could hide long enough to plan their next move, but the chill in her bones told her that nothing could protect them. Not anymore. Her heart thudded so violently she feared it might burst through her chest. Every nerve screamed in anticipation. She knew he was coming. She had to know if he would finally fight, not for the Empire, not for duty, but for them. The sound of footsteps echoed faintly, deliberate and steady. Then a deep, familiar voice cut through the shadows. Maya. She froze, her breath catching in her throat. Eshan and Meher pressed closer, their tiny bodies trembling. Ethan, she whispered, her voice barely audible. He stepped into the dim light, the tall, commanding figure she had once loved, now hardened by 3 years of regret. His blue eyes glimmered with a storm of emotion, rage, longing, guilt, and something more fragile. Hope. You came, she breathed, her body trembling. You actually came. I told you I would, he said softly, but his voice carried steel beneath the gentleness. I'm here, Maya, and I'm not leaving without you. Or them. Maya's chest constricted painfully. She had imagined this reunion countless times, every nightmare, every hope, but nothing had prepared her for the raw, palpable ache of seeing him again. The man who had abandoned her, the man whose betrayal had cost them 3 years, yet whose presence still made her heart shatter and soar at the same time. You don't understand, she said, tears brimming. I've survived on fear, on hiding, on silence. The Stone family. They will destroy us if they find us. They will take the twins. They'll take everything. Ethan took a careful step forward, his hands outstretched but gentle. I know, Maya. I know everything now. I've realized something crucial. They are mine. You are mine. And I won't let anyone hurt my children, or you, ever again. Her throat burned. You think you can fix this? After all the pain, all the lost time? I'll do more than fix it, he said. I'll fight. I'll risk everything. I don't care about the Stone legacy. I don't care about Caroline or anyone else. The only thing I care about is you and them. Maya felt tears spill over. She wanted to run into his arms, to collapse and let the years of grief wash away. But the memory of Eleanor's wrath, of Caroline's manipulation, of the guards at the pier, froze her. She couldn't be reckless, not when the twins were involved. Ethan dropped to his knees, lowering himself to the children's level. Ishan, Meher, do you know who I am? The twins blinked, unsure, shying behind Maya's legs. I am your father, Ethan whispered. I've always been your father, even when I couldn't be there. I am here now, and I will protect you. The little boy's eyes, wide and innocent, met his father's gaze. A faint recognition flickered there, a resemblance he had never denied, a bond he had never broken. The girl mirrored the expression, and Ethan felt something inside him shatter, then rebuild, stronger and fiercer than ever. Maya's voice trembled as she spoke. Ethan, there's something you need to know. He looked at her, wary yet attentive. Anything. Tell me. Her fingers tightened around the twins. Eleanor, she knows where we are. She's already watching. And before she could finish, a sudden noise echoed from the entrance, a metallic clink, the unmistakable sound of a gun being cocked. Ethan's head snapped toward the sound. No, he growled. A shadow moved from the corner. One of Eleanor's guards had tracked them here, silent and precise, weapon aimed at the family. Maya froze, heart hammering violently. She whispered almost to herself, We can't survive this. Ethan stepped between the guard and the twins. I will not let you touch them, he said, voice low, dangerous. His presence radiated authority and raw power, the air around him taut with the promise of action. The guard smirked. Stone thinks he can protect them alone? A tense moment stretched, each second feeling like an eternity. Maya's hands were trembling, the twins clinging to her as if they sensed the imminent danger. Ethan's eyes, stormy and sharp, locked onto the intruder. You will not harm them. Not tonight. Not ever. The guard made a sudden move. Ethan reacted instinctively, moving in front of the twins, and in a swift motion disarmed him. A struggle ensued, tense and violent, echoing through the hollow warehouse. Maya's heart lurched with every movement, feeling every scrape, every near miss as if it were happening to her own body. Finally, Ethan subdued the guard, pinning him to the ground. He looked back at Maya, chest heaving, face pale but resolute. Are you okay? Maya nodded shakily, tears streaming freely. Yes, because you're here. For a brief moment, the world seemed to pause, the twins safe, Ethan alive, the threat momentarily neutralized. And yet, just as Maya exhaled, relief washing over her, a sharp sound cut through the air. A click. Her eyes widened in horror. A silencer, a gun aimed directly at the twins. Ethan's head snapped around, his blue eyes widened in shock, then narrowed with a lethal focus. Before anyone could move, a voice, calm yet chilling, broke the silence. Step aside, Stone, or they die. Maya screamed, the sound tearing from her throat like fire. The twins clutched her tightly, panic-stricken. Ethan's body moved with precision, placing himself between the children and the weapon. His pulse raced, rage and fear fused into a single unyielding force. I said, "Step aside?" the voice repeated, cold and merciless. Ethan's lips curled into a dangerous grin, his voice low and steady. "If you want them, you'll have to go through me. And trust me, that won't end well for you." Maya's hands were shaking violently, the twins trembling against her chest. Every instinct screamed that they were moments from disaster. And yet, she could see something new in Ethan, a raw, primal determination she had never witnessed before. He was no longer the man who had left her 3 years ago. He was a father now, a protector, a man who would burn every bridge, defy every rule, and face every enemy to keep his family alive. And as the shadows moved closer, gun trained steadily on the children, Maya realized one terrifying truth. The battle for their lives was just beginning. Because the person behind the barrel wasn't just a hired thug. It was someone who knew all their secrets. The warehouse was a storm of shadows and tension. The stranger's gun was aimed steadily at the twins, the silence between heartbeats stretching impossibly long. Maya's chest heaved, Eshin and Meher trembling against her arms. Ethan's blue eyes blazed with unrestrained fury, muscles taut, every movement precise, every nerve alive with protective instinct. "You will not harm them," Ethan said again, voice low, steady, and terrifying. "I will not ask again." The figure behind the gun smiled faintly, coldly. "You think words will save them? I know everything about you, about her, about the twins. Step aside, or they die." Maya's hands tightened around the children. Her mind raced, panic and clarity intertwining. There was no one else to save them. No authorities, no allies. Only Ethan, and the raw force of his love and determination. Ethan's gaze met hers, fierce and unwavering. "Trust me," he whispered. "I've failed before, Maya. Never again. I will not lose them. I will not lose you." Her heart lurched, a fragile hope flickering like a candle in the dark. She nodded, swallowing her fear. He moved, swift, precise, every motion calculated. 1 second, he was inches from the intruder. The next, the gun clattered across the concrete floor. A swift kick, a punch, a movement so fast Maya barely registered it, and the stranger collapsed, groaning. The twins' small hands clutched hers, and she realized she was shaking, not from fear, but from relief. Ethan's chest heaved, sweat glistening on his brow, hair slightly mussed, and yet in his eyes burned the same fire that had captivated her heart years ago. "Are they okay?" she whispered, voice trembling. "They are safe," Ethan said, brushing a damp strand of hair from her face. His fingers lingered on her cheek, warm and grounding. "Because I am here. I will never leave them again." Maya blinked back tears, suddenly overwhelmed. 3 years of pain, of hiding, of whispered nights alone had led to this moment, raw, fierce, and utterly irrevocable. But relief was short-lived. From the shadowed entrance, a familiar, icy voice rang out. Innocent strokes of a child's hand. 3 stick figures, one with brown skin, one small, and one larger with piercing green eyes. Tears drawn with a crayon streaked down the face of the largest figure. Above it, in uneven, childish letters, were words that made Julian's chest seize. "Mommy, me, and the sad man." The world tilted. His suit felt like a trap. The polished shoes on his feet seemed absurdly small beneath the enormity of what he had ignored. The courtroom itself, the judge, the lawyers, the audience, faded from his perception. All that existed was the drawing. Julian pressed his hands to his face. The image, the simplicity of it, the innocence, the truth, broke through decades of control, ego, and denial. For the first time, he wept openly, not the calculated, silent tears he occasionally allowed himself in solitude, not the poised, veiled discomfort he had mastered in boardrooms. These were jagged, unrefined sobs, guttural sounds that shook his chest, shook the air, shook the foundation of every decision he had ever made. Nia watched him, not with anger, not with vengeance, not with the temptation to punish the man who had abandoned her. She watched with the quiet dignity of a woman who had already mourned the man she once loved, who had faced her pain alone, and who had emerged stronger, unbroken. Her eyes were pools of calm, reflecting not only sorrow but the certainty of justice, the triumph of truth, the inviolable bond with her daughter. Maya shifted slightly, sensing the tension, feeling the tremor in the air. She had drawn this picture not as a weapon, not as a tool, but as a language she understood, as a way to communicate what words could not express. The tears on the green-eyed figure were not anger. They were recognition. They were the first honest acknowledgement of the pain Julian had caused. Julian's body shook, his knees weakened. The courtroom remained silent, hanging on the moment like the quiet before a storm. The judge's pen paused mid-note, the bailiff's breath caught, and the room seemed to hold its collective heartbeat for him. He remembered Nia's pregnancy, the night she had left him, the storm, the birth he had missed, the quiet days he had ignored. Every memory, every cruel decision, every ambition that had blinded him converged into one excruciating truth. He had not only abandoned a wife, he had abandoned a life, a child, a legacy that mattered far more than any corporate merger or public image. Nia's voice cut softly through the silence, measured, unwavering. "She is my priority, always has been. You are not, and that will not change." Julian lifted his head, green eyes wet, raw with shame and shock. He looked at Maya, at the drawing, at the unspoken truth that a child's innocence could expose more than any legal brief, more than any argument, more than any wealth or power. The room seemed to shrink, the walls closing in around him, and the magnitude of his failures became unbearable. Every step he had taken, every decision he had made, every fleeting moment of ambition had led to this confrontation with reality. He realized, finally, that nothing he could offer, money, influence, apologies, would undo the damage. The drawing did not just accuse, it revealed. It revealed the emptiness of his choices, the arrogance of his ego, and the magnitude of what he had failed to protect. Nia's hands rested lightly on the table, her posture unyielding. She did not need to argue. She did not need to beg for justice. The truth had spoken. It had been drawn in crayon, framed in innocence, and it had pierced the armor Julian had spent a lifetime constructing. Maya tugged gently at Nia's sleeve, whispering, "It's okay, Mommy." I made him see. Julian's gaze flicked between mother and child, between innocence and truth. His throat tightened. The courtroom seemed to tilt, the air heavy with expectation. Every legal argument, every motion, every lawyer's whisper was rendered meaningless in the presence of this undeniable truth. He rose suddenly, his chair scraping against the floor, eyes wide and desperate. He turned toward the judge, hands trembling. The courtroom holding its breath. His voice, when it came, was raw, broken, and devoid of the confident authority that had defined him for so long. The judge leaned forward, pen poised. The gallery of spectators leaned forward, sensing the magnitude of what was unfolding. Lawyers whispered anxiously to one another. Julian swallowed hard, words catching in his throat. He opened his mouth. The first syllables were barely audible, but the weight of them struck the room like a hammer. Every eye turned to him, every ear tuned in. The twins hugged them both, laughter spilling, tiny fingers entwined. And for the first time in years, Ethan allowed himself to truly feel joy, relief, love, and a fierce, unshakable determination. Eleanor's shadow faded completely into the background. The Stone family's power, the threats, the legacy, they were nothing compared to the bond Ethan and Maya had forged, the love that had survived betrayal, separation, and silence. Ethan pulled Maya close, feeling the warmth of her body, the heartbeat of their children against him. "We start now," he said softly. "Our life. Together. Nothing else matters. I am yours, and you are mine, and our children. They are the center of everything." Maya's tears flowed freely, a mixture of grief, relief, and unspoken happiness. "Forever," she whispered. "Forever," Ethan repeated, pressing his forehead to hers, the twins' laughter echoing like a promise. And in that warehouse, amidst shadows that had once threatened to consume them, a new life began, a life built on love, choice, and the unshakable truth that love is the only duty that truly matters. The twins giggled, Ethan smiled, and Maya's heart, battered but unbroken, finally found peace. No empire, no legacy, no fear, only family, only love.